So you sit down, you open your journal, and you have no idea what to write. That blank page is staring back at you, and you're staring back at it, and it's staring back at you, and you're just doing a staring contest at this point. It's a common problem that we all have. Maybe it's because you have writer's block, and maybe it's just because you're new to journaling, but either way, you are in good hands because I'm here to give you some ideas of what to write about. I just want to preface this video by saying you can write whatever you want. There are no right or wrong ways to journal. You don't have to write about one thing over the other. It's whatever you want. This video is just to give you some ideas of things that you can write about, but you can literally do whatever you want. So one thing that you can write about is what you're grateful for. This is a great thing to do either at the beginning or the end of the day. It's nice to like just kind of recount those things right before you go to bed or like first thing in the morning when you wake up. You can write it in a list of like, I'm grateful for blank, I'm grateful for blank, and just keep going. Or you can really like elaborate on those things that you're grateful for, talk about why you're grateful for them, and just like expand on all of that. It's really nice to slow down sometimes and really recognize those things that you're grateful for and be reminded of the good things that you have in your life. Another thing that you can write about is your day and how it went. This is a very obvious thing to write in your journal, probably one of the most common ones. It's definitely my go-to. Just kind of reflecting back on like what you did that day and how it made you feel. Talk about like all of your thoughts on those things. This is a good one, especially for me since I daily journal, so it's really cool to be able to look back on all of my day-to-day journal entries and see how like every single day changed. And it's really cool that now that I've been journaling every day for over 5 years now, I can literally go back to any day in the past 5 years and like see what I was thinking about and like what I did that day. I didn't write about like my day every single day, but like the vast majority of them I did like at least talk about what I did. You can bullet out the things that you did in your day. You can really elaborate on it. You could tell it like a story if you wanted to, or you could really highlight on big events that happened in your day or like little things that really made you happy about your day. Whatever you want. You can also write your plans for the future in your journal. I think this is a really cool thing to write about because it's so interesting to be able to see like what your plans were for the future and then eventually see like how it actually turns out if you like stuck to those plans or if it like completely changed. For example, I've always said that I want to go to med school and become an OBGYN, and although I still am like on that same like medical path, I'm no longer planning on going to med school and I'm instead in the School of Nursing here at UVA. So it's cool to see like how that turned out. It also doesn't need to be like regarding your job. It can be about like random goals that you have for yourself, what you hope your future family will be like, what you hope you will be like in a year or 5 years or 10 years or 50 years, what you think the world will be like in the future. It's just really cool to just like think about what the future has to offer and then one day be able to look back on that and see like how correct you were or like how much of that came true. The next thing you don't have to write about, but I strongly encourage it, write about your passions. This might come very naturally for a lot of people because you usually tend to write about the things that are important to you. So if you're passionate about playing the piano, you might find yourself writing about you practicing the piano and your goals with like the piano or whatever it is. So like one of my passions is my YouTube channel, and I write about like how my YouTube channel is doing, how I'm filming videos, how I'm excited to see where it goes. And that kind of ties into like your future plans, like your passions, whatever. But it's really cool to look back and see what you prioritized, what you're really passionate about, and why. Talk about that why. It's so incredible to be able to expand on the things that you're writing about and dive deeper into it to make more meaningful journal entries. You can also write about the different people and things in your life. So when I'm journaling, I try to be mindful of like if it were a story. Every time I have like a new character in my own story, I want to make sure that I introduce them. And so I don't always write about like super lengthy introductions to every single person that I introduce to my journal, but I do think that it is important to give some sort of context because at least for me, especially being a military child, I've had a lot of friends over the years, so it's really cool to be able to like give some more context to each new person, or like when you're meeting new people in like college like I am, you say like, oh, I met them through this, so that one day you can see like, oh, this is how I met that friend I totally forgot about, like that was our first experience. But it is also really cool to expand on like each individual person. You don't need to do this for everybody if you don't want to, but like dedicate a journal entry to write about how much you love your mom. Spend a whole like page or two writing about your best friend or your significant other or some random person that you ran into at the store, like a complete stranger even. It's really cool to have some different kinds of journal entries, and especially those who are close to you. It's really wonderful to be able to look back and see like how you felt about that person literally years ago whenever you wrote it. Same with the things in your life. Write about like what's going on. Write about like the cool mug that you got from the store. Write about like the test that you have tomorrow. Write about any random thing that just like is cool. I don't know. Your journal entries don't always have to be like these monotonous, boring, or even like thought-provoking, eloquently written, amazing entries. You can find like a middle ground where you literally write about anything. It's just really cool to like give context to the people and the things in your life in your journaling. The next one is a big one, and I highly recommend that you do it, and it is to write about big events in your life, whether it be a graduation from high school or college, or your wedding day, or when you first have a baby, or like a relationship that you're in, or like a really cool award that you won, or like significant world events. Write about those things and write about your thoughts on them. Write about how you're feeling, whether it's like super happy, super scared, super like angry, super upset, like whatever that event may be, write about it. Write how you feel. I have journal entries from every single day of like the COVID updates when it officially became a pandemic. I have a journal entry saying like, oh my gosh, it's officially been declared a pandemic. I have like journal entries of when my graduation got canceled in high school because of COVID. I have a journal entry of the day that I got accepted into UVA and decided to like come to UVA and commit to it. I have all of those written down, and I'll have like future journal entries when I get married one day to look back on, and those are so special. Having those journal entries, having those milestones written down on paper is something to cherish so much, and you will be so glad that you have that documented, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, regardless of like where it is on that scale. If it's a significant thing in your life, that is something that you will definitely cherish having written down. And even if it is something that's hard to write about, if it's more of like a sad big event such as like a death of a loved one, journaling itself can also help you process that and really get through those times. And even though that is such like a difficult thing to write about, you may still be glad that you did take the time to really write about like your feelings on that and why it impacted you the way that it did. The next thing to write about is really helpful when I am just super like overwhelmed and anxious and just have a lot on my mind, and it's literally to do a brain dump. Write whatever is on your mind. If it's easier, just do a bullet list and literally bullet out the things on your mind. Get it out of your mind onto the paper, something tangible. It can be very, very helpful when you just are very stressed, which I am a lot. It doesn't need to be worded nicely. It can be super random. It doesn't need to be coherent or make sense. It doesn't need to be like important things or anything. Literally whatever you want, whatever is on your mind. It can be the most random, stupid things ever. Even if it's like, I'm really hungry right now, but I'm too lazy to stand up. and so I'm just gonna sit here procrastinating going and making dinner or something. I don't know. It can literally be whatever you want. It doesn't need to be something like really cool. It can be stupid and random, or it can just be like, I'm really stressed about X, Y, and Z, and literally just list out all of your to-dos or like the things that you have to get done or that you're worried about. That can be really helpful to just like help process everything and get it off your mind. And then another thing that you can put in your journal is journal prompts. I actually have a video where I have a whole bunch of journal prompts. I also have a playlist of a journaling prompt challenge. You can follow along with that and like get a ton of different ideas of different kinds of journaling prompts that you can include in your journal. But in general, journaling prompts are just a really great way to add some more diversity to your writing, to write about some of the things that maybe you didn't really initially think about putting in your journal. They can add a different layer of like who you are into your journaling, which I think is really cool. And when you have no idea and can't decide on like what to write about, journaling prompts can make it a lot easier to just like get the words flowing, because when you have a prompt, you just write about your answer to the prompt. So definitely check out the journaling prompts that I have here on my channel. I'll link them like down below, because I know a lot of you have expressed that they have been very, very helpful. And then the last thing that I wanted to share with you is that I have a couple videos on ways that you can fill up your notebooks, like different kinds of journals to keep. That could also be very helpful with sparking some inspiration on what you can use your journal for, things you can put in it. So I definitely recommend checking those out if you haven't already. If you have any other questions, feel free to comment them down below. I also have some journaling Q&As where I answer a lot of your journaling questions as well. But thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful to you. If it was, give it a big thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications so that you'll see when I upload next. But I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys!